Let me ask you something. How many of you are doing everything right during the day, eating well, hitting the gym a few times a week, but the weight just won't shift? You're in a calorie deficit, you're lifting weights and you're doing your cardio, but your body composition is barely budging and your energy levels are completely flat. Nobody talks about this. The thing that's sabotaging your results isn't what's happening in the gym or at the dinner table. It's what's happening in the evening and overnight. And it's a pattern so common amongst professionals in their 40s, 50s, and 60s that I see it with almost every client who comes to me. Glass of wine to wind down, poor sleep, then coffee, and lots of it, just to function the next day. And that cycle is wrecking your metabolism, tanking your energy, and making fat loss damn near impossible. So let's start with the evening. You finish work, you're mentally done, your brain's been firing all day, and you just want to switch off. So you pour a glass of wine or a beer or whiskey. And look, I'm not here to lecture you about drinking. I'm a personal trainer and nutritionist. I'm not your therapist. I'm here to tell you what alcohol actually does to your body, especially when it comes to fat loss and sleep. Alcohol is a sedative. It makes you feel relaxed. It helps you fall asleep. But here's the problem. It absolutely destroys that quality of sleep. When I was in a corporate job, I'd have a couple of drinks most nights. It felt normal. Everyone did it. And yeah, I'd finally fall asleep. But I'd wake up at like 2 or 3 a.m., wide awake, my mind racing, or I'd sleep through completely, but wake up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. What I didn't realize was that alcohol fragments your sleep. It stops you from getting into deep restorative sleep cycles, and your body never fully ever recovers. And here's where it hits your fat loss. Poor sleep absolutely tanks your hunger hormones. So when you don't sleep well, your ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone, spikes, and your leptin, which is the hormone that tells you when you're full, drops dramatically. So the next day, you're absolutely ravenous, craving carbs and sugar because your body is desperately looking for quick energy to compensate for that terrible sleep. You might think you've got willpower issues, but actually you don't. You've got a sleep quality issue caused by alcohol. And here's the other problem. Alcohol disrupts fat metabolism. Your liver prioritizes processing of alcohol over everything else. So when you drink in the evening, your body's fat-burning machinery basically shuts down overnight. You're doing everything right during the day, and then you're undoing it in that one single evening. Now, let's talk about what happens when you're not sleeping properly, whether that's from alcohol, stress, or just poor sleep hygiene, because this is where people really don't connect the dots. You might be in bed for 7 or 8 hours, but if that sleep is fragmented, if it's shallow or restless, your body isn't recovering. And when your body doesn't recover, several things happen that directly sabotage fat loss. First, your insulin sensitivity drops, and that means your body gets worse at processing carbs, so the food you eat is more likely to be stored as fat instead of being used for energy. Number 2, your cortisol stays elevated. Now, cortisol is your stress hormone, but it also spikes when you're sleep deprived. And high cortisol tells your body to hold on to fat, especially around the middle. 3, your testosterone and growth hormone production tanks. Both men and women need these hormones to build and maintain muscle. When you're not sleeping well, your body literally can't recover from training. You're just breaking yourself down without allowing yourself to rebuild. So when you go to the gym, you lift weights, but your body composition doesn't change because you're not giving your body the recovery window that it needs to actually achieve that adaptation. I spent months training hard, eating right, and seeing almost nothing happen. I thought I was just getting older because that's what 40 feels like, right? It wasn't age, it was sleep. And the moment I fix my sleep quality, and I'll tell you how in a minute, everything starts working again. The training starts to pay off, the fat starts to come off, and your energy levels start to come back. But I had to fix that sleep first. So when you wake up after terrible sleep, maybe from alcohol, maybe from just poor sleep in general, what do you actually do? Well, most people, it's coffee and lots of it. And again, I'm not anti-coffee. I drink coffee myself. But here's what happens when you're using caffeine to compensate for poor sleep. Because caffeine masks the problem. It gives you an artificial energy boost, but it doesn't fix the underlying exhaustion. You're just running on adrenaline and cortisol all day just so you can feel functional. And by the time the evening rolls around, you're wired and exhausted at the same time. So you reach for alcohol again to take the edge off, and the loop continues. So you've got poor sleep, caffeine to cope, wired again in the evening, alcohol to help you wind down and crash, and poor sleep again. Meanwhile, your body is in a constant state of low-grade stress. Your metabolism is sluggish, appetite is all over the place, and fat loss is just not happening. And this is what I see constantly with professionals I work with. They're doing all the right things on paper. They're disciplined with their diet. They're training, but they're stuck in this loop, and they don't realize it's the loop they're stuck in that's the problem. When I was in a corporate job, I was drinking 4, 5, sometimes 6 coffees a day just to kind of keep my mind sharp. And I thought that was normal. Everyone around me was doing the same thing. I was jittery, irritable, and I couldn't wind down at night without a drink. My body was in fight or flight mode from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And my body composition, I mean, it really showed because, I had fat around the middle. I was holding on to fat and I just couldn't get rid of it as well. So I wasn't happy with the way I looked and all the way I was performing. So let's tie this all together from a fat loss perspective, because this is where it gets really frustrating for people. You're eating in a calorie deficit, you're training, you're doing the right things, but your body's holding on to fat like your life depends on it. And here's why. Your body is perceiving a threat. Between poor sleep, elevated cortisol, blood sugar swings from caffeine crashes, and disrupted hunger hormones, your body thinks something is wrong. And when your body thinks something is wrong, it doesn't let go of fat easily, because fat is your emergency fuel reserve. Your body's clinging onto it because it thinks you need it. And this is why people in their 40s, 50s, and even 60s especially struggle. Your metabolism is already naturally slowing down. Your hormones are shifting, so it could be menopause for women, declining testosterone in men, and then you layer on top of that the sleep, alcohol, caffeine pattern, and your body doesn't stand a chance. You're fighting your biology, and your biology will always win. Now, the good news is this. When you fix the sleep and break the cycle, everything else starts working. The cravings drop, energy comes back, and your training will actually start to pay off. The fat starts coming off, and not just the scale moving, you'll actually see body composition changes. But you have to fix the foundation first. So, let me tell you what changed for me. Because I was in a corporate high-pressure job with long hours, and I was stuck in exactly this pattern. Drinking most nights to wind down, terrible sleep, coffee all day to function, and I was carrying weight I couldn't shift. My energy levels were shot, and I was anxious, and my mood was low, and quite honestly, I was heading towards something really not that great. The turning point was realizing I couldn't fix my fitness without first fixing my sleep, and I couldn't fix my sleep without addressing the alcohol. So here's what I did and what I do with my clients. First step is to cut back the alcohol, not to 0 necessarily. I'm not saying you have to quit, but I went from 4 to 5, maybe 6 drinks a week to just 1 or 2 drinks a week. And I stopped drinking within 3 hours of bedtime. The difference in my sleep quality was almost immediate. I was sleeping much more deeply, waking up less, and actually feeling more rested. Step 2, I dialed back the caffeine. So I went from 5 to 6 coffees a day to 2, and I cut caffeine out after 2 p.m. And this stopped that wired but tired feeling in the evening. Step 3, I created an actual wind down kind of ritual. And I realized alcohol was being used as a binary switch to say work on, wind off kind of thing. But I had to learn how to kind of wind down gently. So things like dimming the lights, start to dim the house lights at around 8:30, put the phone in another room. I replaced wine with high quality sort of herbal teas I really enjoy. You can even, if you want, throw in like a magnesium supplement. And it sounds a bit boring, but having the energy of a 25-year-old at 7 a.m. and finally getting to see your stomach again, looking a bit flatter at 45 is worth it. Because within 2 weeks, my sleep was deeper than it had been for quite a number of years. My hunger was under control, training started to pay off, and that belly fat, it finally started coming off too. Not because I was training harder, but because my body could finally respond to the training I was already doing. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. I'm a professional, I work hard, a drink in the evening is how I decompress, and that's just part of the deal. And I get it. I told myself that same thing for years. But here's the thing nobody's telling you. This cycle isn't just costing you your body composition, it's costing you performance at work. When you're running on terrible sleep and caffeine, you're not sharp. You're just reactive and you're not strategic. You get irritable with people in your team. You're forgetting things. You need 3 cups of coffee just to get through a regular meeting. And at home, you've got no patience. So you might be snapping at your kids. You zone out with your partner and you think you're paying this price for success. But really, you're just underperforming everywhere because you're not recovered. The professionals I work with, they're executives, business owners, people with real responsibilities, and they all think stress and poor sleep are just part of doing business. And I can tell you they're not. They're the thing preventing you from doing better business. When you fix your sleep, you break this loop, and you don't just look better in the mirror. You're thinking more clearly, you're making better decisions, and you show up better for your family. And that's what this kind of recovery actually buys you. So let's get real for a second. If you've been trying to lose fat for months and maybe even years, and it's just not happening, you probably feel like it's you and you're failing. Like you don't have enough willpower or something, like your body's broken, like maybe you're just too old for this to work for you. You're not failing. You don't have a willpower problem. You have a hormonal mutiny. When you're not sleeping well, your hunger hormones go rogue, your cortisol stays elevated, your insulin sensitivity tanks. Your body literally fights you on fat loss because it thinks something's wrong. And you can white knuckle your diet all you want, but you can't out-discipline bad hormones. And this is why people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s feel like their body's turned against them. It's not just age, it's a lack of recovery. You're not really old, you're not broken, you're just unrecovered. And the moment you fix that, the moment you give your body the sleep and recovery it's been begging for and screaming out for, everything changes. The cravings ease, the energy comes back, the training starts to pay off, and the fat will start finally disappearing. But you have to fix that foundation first. So here's my challenge to you for the next 7 days. If you want to try these 3 simple rules, the 3-2-1 rule is no alcohol 3 hours before bed, no work 2 hours before bed, and no screens 1 hour before bed. Nothing after 2 p.m., not even a sneaky afternoon coffee. So cut off that caffeine. Try 5 nights this week with 0 alcohol. Just 5 nights. Save it for the weekend. And watch what happens to your hunger. Watch what happens to your mood and watch what happens to the scale. Because I'm not asking you to be perfect here. I'm asking you to try leaning into recovery instead of just grinding out harder. Because you've probably been trying to figure out your diet, doing all the sort of fad crash diets for years. And it's time to try something different. I'm not saying you can never have a drink or a double espresso again. Life's for living, right? But you want to ask yourself honestly, is that evening glass of wine giving you more than it's taking away? Because right now, for most of you watching this, it's taking away your progress. It's taking away your patience with your family in the morning. It's taking away the body you've worked so hard for in the gym. And you're not old. You're not broken. You're just unrecovered and tired. And when you break this loop, you aren't just losing fat. You're getting your brain back. That brain fog will clear. You're getting your drive back, so you have your energy levels back. And you're getting your old self back. That's what real health looks like. It's not just a number on the scale, not just abs. It's walking with energy, going through your day sharp and present, actually enjoying your life again. This is what Prime Fit is built around. Not just fat loss. It's a health reset, especially for professionals in their 40s, 50s, and 60s who are tired of starting over and ready to fix the system that's been keeping them stuck. So if this resonated for you, if you felt stuck in this loop, drop a comment below because I do read them all. And if you want the specific protocol I use with my clients to break this cycle and finally get the results that stick, click the link in the description. If you want practical, evidence-based conversations around sleep, stress, fat loss, and training in midlife, subscribe. That's what this channel's all about.